Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming today. We really appreciate your patience as we are trying to do this hybrid Zoom presentation. So Jen and I were here a couple of days ago. We spent an hour and a half with the library to make sure everything was all set up and we knew all the technology. And of course, there's a few glitches nonetheless. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started, and Jen is gonna do what she can to get the Zoom going here. We're so happy to see you here and welcome you to the first film series, the title of which is Afro-Indigenous Relationships to Land. I'm Julie Wagner. I'm the president of the Branford Land Trust. And I just want to say thank you to Blackstone Library for having us here, and to Jen Broom and Jen Payne and Martha Rice and other people who helped coordinate today. The Branford Land Trust is an amazing organization. I have to say, I love the Branford Land Trust. We are 55 years old. We are fully nationally accredited, and we are all volunteer run, and we have always been all volunteer run. We protect about 1,600 acres of land in Branford, and we maintain many, many miles of trails. Whatever lands are not too ecologically sensitive for human impact, we make them open to the public, whether you're a BLT member or not. We protect salt marsh and upland forest. We protect old field and farmland. So when you drive around Branford and are glad for living in such a pretty town with so much scenery, you can thank the Branford Land Trust for that. And we thank you for your support of our efforts. I'm going to start with our land acknowledgement. The Branford Land Trust acknowledges the people who have called the lands we conserve home. We honor the Totoket and Monunkatuck bands of the Quinnipiac people who were dispossessed of these lands. We pay respect to those who are no longer here, and we celebrate the continuing and future presence of Indigenous people in this region. We're grateful for their stewardship of land, water, plants, and animals over thousands of years. We're grateful, we also recognize other people, past, present, and future, with connections to this land. Those who were enslaved and brought here against their will, those who come for a better life, and still others who flee danger and seek refuge. We vow to protect the land in perpetuity, to foster access to nature for all people, and to help heal our human relationship with the earth. There's a movement among land conservation organizations across the country to recognize what Indigenous people have been saying for hundreds of years, which is that all the lands that we conserve were Indian lands, and that Native Americans are not history. They are still here. They are still with us. So the films we chose for today speak to these truths and beautifully portray Indigenous people in North America and how they are diligently and courageously and passionately maintaining their ties to land despite centuries of dispossession, genocide, and erasure. So these are the ancestral lands of the Quinnipiac. For those of you who may have been here last week to hear Jim Powers, who's in our audience today, talk about that. He's our local expert, so if you have questions, ask him. These were their lands. And I've been taught that the tribes of this area were peaceful and resource sharing with other tribes in the area, including their kin, the Pawguasets. So it's my understanding, I'm going to introduce to you in a moment Clan Mother Shoran Piper. And it's my understanding that clan mothers are recognized leaders of the tribal nation. They appoint chiefs. They are the decision makers, the healers, the leaders. They perform weddings and funerals and ceremonies and other rituals. They are recognized often at a young age as the matriarchal leaders with the final say for their community of people. So it's my pleasure to introduce Clan Mother Shoran Waupatukuay Piper. She'll correct me, I'm sure, of the Golden Hill Pogwasets. She's also the author of this book, Red Road, Afro-Indigenous Voices from America, which I highly recommend. It's available on Amazon. So Clan Mother Shoran, if you'd like to say a few words.
This is good right here. Perfect. Because okay, perfect. Everybody can hear me clear? Okay.
I don't know if they're taking your mask off for talking.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, as long as I got everybody can hear. Okay. Sego, everyone. In my language, Sego means greetings. My name is Shoran Waupatukuay Piper. I am the tribal head leader of Golden Hill Pogwasset tribe, named Clan Mother. Back in grammar school, I was looked upon at that age. There is somebody who's named Mr. Ed Sarabia, who is retired now, who worked in environmental DP, state of Connecticut and Hartford, Indian Affairs. He has the paperwork and documents that he remembers when I was in grammar school and I was being looked upon by my grandmother. And he remembers bringing those documents and paperwork to her to appoint me at that age. Not that I could go off at that age, I was still young, but at the age of 10, I knew how to cook, clean, write a check from a checkbook. I knew how to cook. I knew it all. So I was raised at a very young age. I still ran around outside playing with other family members in our tribe, but then there was times where I had to sit at the kitchen table and watch the women bead, they're cooking, they're talking about stuff that, I have no clue, and probably at one point thought they were crazy, So I'm reading stuff that I may have not understood what a lot of the words were. So I was raised and learned at a very, very young age and looked upon. To some recent undisclosed reasons of a case, our tribe working on with our attorney, DEP, Indian Affairs from Hartford, the capital, and their attorneys. My father had named me over 6 times in different letters and documents going as far back as 2003. He passed away in 2008. I was only aware of one document until this recent undisclosed for reasons case that had came about for some in-house tribal reasons that was found. So that is also a great thing, for tribal leaders who you're appointed, but all of that is written into a different type of language. So again, that was something that my father and something that was uncovered recently. We have 2 reservations here in Connecticut. We have Quarter Acre. It's in Trumbull. It's the oldest continuing reservation since 1659. And then maybe it depends on which route you take, and Colchester is our other reservation. So it's an hour, some minutes, 10, 15 minutes from the casinos. It's in the Norwich area, if everybody's familiar with that direction. So that's where our second reservation is. The war chief lives on the reservation there with our family. Over the years, we've had elders live there, other family members, but for a very long time and still to this present day is the war chief, which is my nephew of the tribe who resides there, who's also the caretaker, and his family also resides there. I'm on social media. The tribe's page is a public page. We try to keep everything open and updated, not just with our tribe, but what is happening worldwide, as we don't have those certain radio stations unless you get an app. So you won't know what's going on in Indian country. You won't see that on the news unless it's a fight over a pipeline. So we try to keep everybody updated, not just, with our tribe and just with permission from other tribes, just keeping everyone worldwide updated. So feel free. Can contact me if any questions after today, or contact Julie. She'll get a hold of me. And, if anyone has social media, it's Facebook or Instagram, feel free. Any questions? Okay.
What's the name of the Facebook page?
The Golden Hill Pogwasset Indian Reservation.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. I can write that down. We could write it down later for you. But yeah, it's just basically the tribe's name and reservation. So, yeah.
What is the tribe name?
Golden Hill Paguasit Reservation. Well, it's Golden Hill Paguasit Tribe, but if you're looking for the actual page, reservation is after the Golden Hill Paguasit.
And how many people are there?
And our tribe right now, with everybody still yearly babies being born and one that's about to be born again next month, it's about over 150 members. A lot of our old ones are gone, but we still keep a lot of the traditional old ways going, as we have a great amount of children from toddler age up until college age that is taking over after our generation is gone. So we have our future generations. And we were always taught from ancestrals all the way down and down. And I was always taught by my dad to always keep a journal and notebook. That's all he did, was write everything in there. So that's what we do now. And we pass that down. So that's how your history for us is passed down in tribes, is through song, dancing, singing, teaching, cooking, storytelling, ceremony. So we keep all of those going. Thank you. Like me, mine? Yeah, white fawn. And that's in English, but in our language, Waupatukuay. So it would mean white fawn. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go ahead and start the films now. And it's a series of shorts. So we're going to watch several, and then we'll take a bio break. And you're welcome to look at some of the BLT materials on the table. We have some books for sale. Use the restroom, get a drink of water, whatever you need. So we'll take a break about 15 minutes in intermission and come back for the remainder of the films, and then open it up for discussion and questions and answers. We've seen the last film now, so we just want to open it up for discussion or questions, any comments. And Clan Mother Shoran is happy to respond.
I'll start with a question from the chat. There's a question from Zoom that says, how large is the Connecticut Norwich reservation?
And if you could,
Colchester, 116, sorry.
If you can repeat the question.
Oh, okay. So the question was, how many acres was our Colchester reservation? But they said Norwich?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Colchester. So it'd be between 116 and 18 acres.
I was wondering if you could explain to everybody the experience that your father had in regard to the quarter-acre piece of property, because that's a little-known story in Connecticut, which is incredibly powerful. It speaks to this whole topic.
Right. There's a book called Quarter Acre Heartache. It's not really printed. The publisher passed away, so that publishing house is no more there. It is very hard to find the book, but some people have told me that they always come across it. So you either renting it in the library, renting it online, buying it, but some people have come across it. Quarter Acre Heartache, it's from Claude Clayton Smith. It explains everything that my father went through, blood, sweat, and tears, and the fight for our Trumbull reservation. At one point, our reservation was big, just like any other reservation. So it went all the way around, one whole big circle. A lot of those homeowners that are still alive today who own their homes will tell you that they bought their home from the BIA. So all that area was stolen and taken. And my father kept fighting for that. They ended up just giving us the quarter acre of land and the neighbor's driveway. Doesn't really make sense, but the book is very interesting. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. You won't be able to put it down. It explains a whole lot in there. I'm working with Claude Clayton Smith and someone else to get the books reprinted. So finding a company to having it reprinted. So I want to go back to homeland for Maine. I'm 41 years old. I've been going to Maine since I was 5 years old. Have brother, sister, friends, other family members that live in Maine. My father lived in Maine, had a deer farm, has property. My brother has that property now. As I got older, I eventually got a property. Malcontanen is a beautiful, beautiful place. You could still see snow on it in the summertime. And when we're coming down where our road is, you could still see a nice big view of it. The paper mill is now closed. It's not up and running anymore. The owners who owned it are right from here, Connecticut, two brothers. I'm not sure if they sold it or what. They just closed down. They just basically closed it down, wanted to sell it. It did catch fire later on. I want to say twice, but the smell was horrible. You have to go into town. So that's what we called it, was going into town. So you had to go into Lincoln. So where the paper mill was is where everything was. You had your post office, you had your grocery store, you had everything, Martin's, no matter what it is, dealerships, laundromat, everything was right there. The smell is horrible, horrible, horrible. I had people tell me you'd get used to it. I never got used to the smell. It was disgusting. I hated it. I had to cover my nose every time we went to town. I'd put my shirt over my nose. I can't explain the smell. People said that they didn't smell anything that I smelled, that it smelled normal to them, or you'd get used to it, or it smelled like cabbage. I could sit in the house that had 10 pots of cabbage brewing and it wouldn't bother me. I couldn't explain what that smell was. And I thought, well, paper doesn't smell like that. So my brother and his wife, who just recently got married in July, she's from the tribes in Maine. So they have to go to town. Where they live is not too far, but they still have to go into town. The paper mill is still there. It's not, you know, nobody's really doing anything with it. I'm not too sure what the brothers are doing with it, but it's a sad situation to know that while it was up and running, these chemicals came out through the air that you breathed in from that smoke and smell. It went through the water. It affected everybody. When it closed down, a lot of people lost their jobs. That was people's livelihood in town. So not only were they losing their jobs, they were, you know, their health went downhill, people passing away from the health. Then when it catches fire, when you close a place down like that, not everything is cleaned out. Not everything is cleared out. So there's still stuff in there that is still gonna come in that atmosphere and brew. My brother's in the fire department out there. His wife is also in the fire department out there. And there's certain type of protective gear and clothing and masks that, you know, thankfully they put that on so that they don't breathe that type of apparatus going in to that fire. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Any more questions?
Are there any, we saw a whole bunch of issues about food waste and also environmental issues. Is there anything going on specific to Connecticut?
It is the same. We have DEP and environmental. A lot of the 5 tribes that are here. At one point at 1625, there was more that tribes in Connecticut. You had about 16 to 18 on, but obviously when it comes to politics and government, they get wiped out. It was down to the 5 that are still here now, including the Golden Hopogasset. So we still have to call DEP environmental to come test our pond waters out, our Colchester Reservation as well, asking them to come test the well, you know, the rust, you know, things just get in over time, you know, even if it's covered, it doesn't matter. But a lot of tribes still would have to deal with some of those issues with when it comes to DEP and environmental, hunting, fishing, having our own garden. The soil might not be what it used to be years ago. So a majority, you put fresh soil. All tribes, including myself, we do prayers, we offer tobacco, we do a little ceremony. When we're planting our seeds, we're giving our thanks, you know, to Creator, Mother Earth, Great Spirit, because they're providing for us, you know, to the ancestors. So it depends on where you're at and what's going on, but majority of the time, a lot of the soil is desecrated, and, you know, you have to do a special type of cleaning, you have to do a special type of ceremony, and, you know, tribes get together, or, you know, they do it on their own if it's their own spiritual or medicine man or woman in their own. If I know some people who live in apartments, not homes, who cannot put garden to grow their herbs, medicines, and foods. So there's community gardens that you go and you rent a space or buy a space where you would now have your own garden to tend if you could not do it where you lived.
The importance of federal recognition
Yeah, federal recognition, it comes down to a number of things. It's your own sovereignty, it's your own identity, it's your own government, it's you get your own medical, you can have your own license plates, your own schooling, your own language, it's your own identity. It's just being acknowledged. There are tribes who are just state, there are tribes who are just federal, and then there are tribes who are neither. They're neither state or federal. Our tribe was given federal recognition. They come to you after a while saying, this is wrong or that is wrong, that there was no proof shown. They take it back after 30, 60, 90 days. It's like a preliminary probation period. They ask you for something, you give it to them. So when our tribe met all criteria, all 7 criteria plus more, I think they ran out of ideas or questions of things that they needed because we kept providing. Answer was no. So it's a fight. And I think it just all comes down to money and government and politics. And Connecticut mayor in 2017 and 18, you could read upon it. Politicians in Connecticut and all of the government wrote Obama, he was in office at the time, wrote him letters to deny the tribes, the 3 tribes that are in Connecticut, the federal recognition. A law and a ban was put in with BIA in Washington, DC, and it wasn't just for Connecticut tribes, this is worldwide for tribes, that if you had already applied for federal recognition, you could never apply again. So that's where they got you. And it's an actual law ruling. And so that's what tribes are, and our tribe right now is dealing with. We got right now up to 60 pages of, a book, basically you'd call it, to, get ready to distribute. So to Washington, we're trying to get that ruling out. We want that rule out because no tribe can apply. You just cannot apply with that in there. It's an actual rule, it's like seatbelt rule. So you can't get rid of that, but so it's a fight that we're trying to work on and get that ban out so we could keep applying. Yeah, sure. Yes, there are many people, many tribes. For example, I've been looked at and people wouldn't believe that I'm American Indian and African American, and then I would show them pictures and they'd be like, that's not your sister, that's not your brother, it's this or it's that. No, you look Puerto Rican, your mom looks Chinese, It was even on one of my brother's birth certificates that, my mother was Chinese because of how her eyes were and her skin tone and her long or dark brown hair. But basically, it's letting you know that there's African American and American Indian blood, and there's a lineage, and that goes all the way back to Trail of Tears of down south. It's not up to us, what creator and, makes us. We don't get to choose any of that. But that's what that is meaning. Yeah, many people don't realize that there's a lineage and a bloodline there. There was intermarriage, kids were born, and people don't realize that. Yeah, there's 2 in Connecticut. I would say one more Fairfield County, one more up towards Hartford area, Colchester area, that are in support of the tribe. We normally have a lot of people, even schools, they bring a lot of awareness by writing to politicians, whether it's email, regular postal mail, going to sessions that are voting, putting their voice in or vote, bringing awareness by talking to friends, family, so that it just keeps getting passed on. Social media, if you had it, or people who have a blog, books, radio station, websites. We get a lot of that. We get a lot of feedback with it. People will come back and show us what they put as in their journal list or, what have you. And same with high school kids, colleges. So we get a lot of support and backup with that.
Seems to be so many values of ones
that Correct. And being a state recognized tribe, no matter what state you live in, it's nothing. It's really nothing. I mean, it's 2023 and we still can't have anything of our own. So yeah, it's really hard and difficult at times, but living off the land is important. Our medicines, our food, we still live off the land. We still use a lot of the herbs and the medicines on both reservations, whether it's making tinctures, creams, medicines, the oils, putting it in our foods, our, you know, having our gardens, you know, doesn't matter what the size is or what's growing, but we still have it. And we thank Mother Earth. We'll dig a hole, we'll put food back. We don't waste nothing. You know, if we're cutting up something from our garden and it's just peels and ends, we give it back to the land, we give it back to the earth. We put some water in the hole, cover it up, and we thank Mother Earth for providing so that, you know, she could still continue to provide for us.
What can you tell us about intertribal relations at this point in Connecticut?
For us, it's good. Yep. Each tribe does their own, but then we do intertribal where we are together. So yeah, so far so good. We've grown up with a lot of, you know, people our age in our tribe that you're born and you just grow up with different people, meeting everyone on the powwow trail or ceremonial trail. So meetings, but yep, it's good.
So everyone's supportive of each other?
Yes, it depends. I mean, there could be maybe an in-house situation where it's just one person doesn't like that person, you know, or from that tribe, and it may just be one person from each tribe that just doesn't, yeah, get along. Uh-huh.
Can you see ways that land conservation organizations and tribes can be a benefit to each other?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Working together as a team. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's what you need on both ends. Basically, you really do. I just did a Zoom for an hour, which kind of was like a survey for windmills, you know, coming through that have to deal with water and where those windmills are going through at. So it was dealing with tribes point of view, non-tribes, so commercial Greenland, and then so they wanted everyone's opinion on how this is going to affect and, you know, what it's going to do in the long run. So yeah, that is beneficial to have, you know, because it's just a tighter knit group. Yeah.
About sacred places and the ability to maybe bring attention to them and preserve them. Is that something that we're able to do?
Yes, here in Connecticut, there's a few committee and councils and boards that there's one or two appointees from each tribe that's on those. And you have, well, it used to be Nick Bellatone, if everybody, you know, so there's like different archaeologists, historians, you have state, you have DP. So anytime there's any type of digging in Connecticut and they come across something, our community like gets called in. Then they have to see which tribe it's from to give it a proper burial, proper blessing, cleansing, and so on and so forth. And it gets returned and yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.